Welcome to another edition of the CSRM and Seed podcast. I'm joined today with a good friend, Jamie Balcom. And Jamie is a sport and rec and youth minister and all that good stuff that gets rolled into those job descriptions, as many of you know. You have a slash in your title, and he works at a church in a foreign country we call Michigan.
That's right.
So we'll just start right from the beginning.
That's right.
And we'll just get right into it.
That's right. You know, I love Greg 364 days a year. There's one day a year I don't like him.
And Jamie's been doing a great job up there. He's also on the CSRM board. He's also on the CSRM executive committee. And Jamie has been, well, you've been bringing a joy to a lot of people since you've gotten involved in our movement. He's also a life coach at a university. We first met because you were the life coach of that team for my niece.
Yep. And
she was a track person, won all kinds of state stuff here in a high school, and very proud of my niece, Janae. And I really appreciated your input into her life.
She's a great person.
And how you enhanced her spiritual life there through what you do there at the university. So you wear a couple different hats.
Just a few.
And also married, young kid.
One little 1-year-old. She's
And,
amazing.
yeah. And Jamie, we're here today to talk not only the fact that the Indians have won 9 out of the 23 division championships, and the Tigers haven't won near that many.
We're not so good. We're the best AAA team in baseball right now.
But we're here to talk about some of the ways that people can really get involved in their church, sports and rec, fitness outreaches, and maybe ways that they've not thought about. You've got a couple unique things that you're doing, and I'd just like you to tell us a little bit about your church and some of what you do.
Okay, so yeah, I'm in a church in Michigan. It's where I'm from. Proud of it. I love the maize and blue, not Ohio State. I really believe in the concept of what's called outside the box thinking. A lot of churches do basketball, football, flag football, and certain things. They do that every month, and which I love dearly. I love playing them sports, but I also thought, like, what are things that you could do that's not so expensive that not everybody else does? And my biggest one I love to do is wiffle ball. I've learned that wiffle ball is a great equalizer. I always wondered what I could do different. And in the movie Field of Dreams, when James Earl Jones talked about Ray, people will come. If you build it, they'll come to Iowa. They have no idea why, but if you build it, they will come. And I took that concept and I'm like, hey, let's try something. In my sanctuary, it looks literally like the old Astros dome with the arcing ceiling. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's go in here. Me and the senior pastor and the worship director, I bought some wiffle balls and a bat. We went in and we just started hitting.
All right, now we've got some people who'll be watching this or listening to this podcast. They don't know what wiffle ball is. They may be more used to cricket and the willow.
Right. So wiffle ball is a plastic ball with 9 holes in it. It's made by the Mullany family out of Connecticut. It's been around a long time in the United States. Kids play it in their backyard. It's a plastic ball. You can get it with a yellow bat that are made. They're like this big around, but yeah, it's just this idea of it's like backyard baseball, but you don't need gloves, you don't need cleats, you don't need uniforms. You can wear a uniform, it looks cool for little kids, but I've learned that every age group can play it.
So it's a variation of the game of baseball.
That's exactly what it is.
But the equipment to start is basically nothing.
Right.
You can play it in a church, sanctuary. Sports ministers out there, do not let your senior pastor hear this. All right?
You can play it in the sanctuary. You might break some lights, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah, so we just started playing around, and we made a few different divisions of adults, middle schoolers, and then like I even made an elementary field, which was 33 feet down each foul line and 40 feet down the center field. They played in our hub, so we had simultaneous tournament things going, and I realized that the 9-year-old teams could hang with the adult teams. So after my first term, I changed the whole idea and put 8 years to 104 as our rule, playing the same bracket. We actually did a tournament where we had a group of 7th grade girls lose their first game, and they ran the whole tournament and lost in the finals to my team, which I didn't feel bad about because they talked a lot.
Because you stacked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anybody can play it. I've learned that wiffle ball is like a great equalizer.
And again, if you're thinking about doing sports and rec in your church, and you say, I have no budget, I have no fields, I have no facilities. This is something that you can do.
Right. You don't need a lot of money. If you know people, that's all you got to do. I built a stadium this last year, or a year and a half ago. I was telling Greg, and my outfield fence is built out of pallets. You can get pallets for free. It takes 41 pallets to make the outfield fence. I'm telling you what it is because I know. And then you ask. Never be afraid to ask. If they say no, it's okay. There's always somebody, but don't not ask people to help you out.
If you're not familiar with the word pallet, it's a wooden piece that big freight things are shipped on. And once they're shipped, they don't have any use for them. Make a whipple.
Yeah, you don't even need that. You just need whatever. You can make anything a field. You just need a piece of grass that's maybe 80 feet long, 80 feet wide, and you can put a field on it and play.
And I also wanted to pick up on something, Jamie, that you mentioned, and that was 9-year-olds and adults. My goodness. Talk about an intergenerational way to do your sports and rec. Because it's usually dad goes and plays basketball and mom goes to whatever, and the kids are doing their little basketball thing. Well, you know what? This is a great way.
Right. And we had, my oldest player one year, the one tournament was like 71 years old. And the youngest in the tournament was 10. And they were on the same team. So it was like a family thing.
So now tell me, you do some other unique things there. You're like into card shows and tell us about
cards
that.
And memorabilia. I love that kind of stuff. I grew up collecting baseball cards. My dad had a store in Indianapolis where he lived, and I've always loved it. And so a few years ago, I said to Rob, my boss, I'm like, hey, what do you think of the idea of a baseball card show in our church? We have a gigantic facility. All we need is tables. And I said, and he asked me what the draw was. I'm like, well, let's bring in an old Detroit Tiger to sign autographs. So we started making phone calls, and people will come to that stuff, and it creates an opportunity for people that have never been in a church to come in the doors. And you don't have to do anything to be influential. You get them in the door. If they see, wow, a church can hold a baseball card show, and you're bringing in famous players, and to watch families and their kids meet these players as they come through the line to get their autographs, you charge a little, but their faces are just unbelievable to watch a little kid see like their heroes, or even dads that have watched. Like for me, we really focus on the '84 Tigers because they won the World Series. It's for even me to like sit next to these players. I'm just like, I'm really sitting next to somebody I watched as my childhood. That was amazing. So it's just another whole outlet, and it's a very easy sports income. If you have a bunch of 8-foot tables, you just charge $20, $30 a table. People will rent them and put cards on.
People come, you get connected with them. How do you make the connection? Do you give them, here's our next leagues that we're doing, here's the next activities, and take them a step at a time, moving them? They didn't even know about your church, now they're here for this, and then you give them the next step.
Right.
How does that work?
So as you come in, for like wiffle ball, people will start, we ask everybody in church, like if you're going to put a team together, you bring in 2 of your friends. Ask your friends. Everybody's in the church is in there, so we want to get to the people that are outside the church. So we invite them to bring their friends. Like our card shows, we tell the dealers, like, hey, we know you're here for the card show. You're welcome to come back to anything else or whatever you would like to do to support it. Like, hey, we're going to have some other event, so invite other people. So they constantly do that, and it's a turnover.
And then you just have the next step, the next step, the next step. So some of you out there thinking, I've never done anything like that. This is what we would call a mega event, where you have an event that you can start relationships with people because they come to this card show. You start the relationship with a mega event. And then in there you say, here's the next step. Do you play baseball? Do you play softball? Do you play volleyball? Do you do any of these things? Get them there. And then the next step from there is to say, when it's right, maybe you join this home Bible study, or this men's group, or you come to this breakfast. You keep them going. But you got to start someplace. This is a great example. Thinking out the box. I'm not sure you even know that there is a box. Because you do a lot of stuff like this. One of the things that I'll point out to you is that if you want to get even a more full explanation of this, you can get the recording, the recordings that happen at the Reach Gathering. And Jamie was a presenter at last year's Reach Gathering. This year, the Reach Gathering, and for 2018, last week of April, is going to be at, where is it at? Asheville, North Carolina.
North Carolina, in the mountains.
Right up there in the mountains, and it's going to be at Ridgecrest Conference Center. So you can go online, reachgathering.org, reachgathering.com, both of them. You go there and you can grab all the information. Jamie is a good example of one of our presenters there. So, Jamie, we thank you for that. But you've got other things you do there at the church. Something about a game night or...
Yeah, we just, we're always trying new things. Like game nights we do. In the summer we do movie nights. Invite families to come watch movies, and we have games set up for them to play or to do other kinds of stuff like that. We're always trying new stuff. We play dodgeball a lot in our hub. It's fun. We don't use the big hard ball, so we're nice to people. But some of us, we throw hard at the kids. We're not shy. We love them, but we have fun with them. And just different things like that. We just try to always think of what's next. What can we do next?
And do you do anything like with hunters and fishers?
Oh yeah, that's another thing that we're looking at doing is we're lucky enough that there's a neighborhood right behind our
Do I know more about what you do than you do?
Sometimes you do, and I think about that. But
all right.
We have a drainage ditch in our back property, and it just sat there for years. And this last year, I'm like, Rob, we have this property, this drainage ditch. Let's clean it out and create a 3D archery range series. So we put in some things. We stand up on the hill and we shoot targets. In the next couple of years, the concept idea is to build some platforms that people can shoot down off of into our ditch. The arrows will go straight into the ground if they miss. So it's just another great outreach because there are hunters. There's not a lot of 3D archery ranges in churches. You don't see that anywhere. We live in Michigan. We deer hunt. So we try to create ways, and it allows for us to use some of the tools that we have found that have written for outdoorsmen in videos, so we can do little series and sit downs with them. Like, hey, we're going to shoot arrows, have dinner, and then we're going to have a little Bible study while we're doing it. So
again, if you're out there and you're hearing this, or you might be watching this video, think outside the box. Think, what do you have? And a lot of people, Jamie, they say, I go to the Reach Gathering or I go to these sports outreach summits and I look around at these huge places. Oh, I can never do that. You know what? You don't need all that.
Right.
If you have it, utilize it. But use the pallet. Right. Use the ditch.
Right. Find something. And when you're looking, think of what are you passionate about? I personally, I love baseball and softball.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it. So I'm like, okay, how can I incorporate that in a world that's full of baseball and softball into a church aspect when I don't have the property in the fields like other people do? But I had this piece of grass, so we decided, let's do the wiffle ball. It's a great outreach.
So folks, use your creativity. But also, if you'd like more information and to think creatively like this, we at CSRM and our friends at Seed would be more than hoping. We really want you to get in contact with us. And Jamie, at the risk of maybe some bogus phone calls here, how can people get a hold of you? Do you have an email address? Or?
You can email me at any time you want. It's jambalcom, JAMBALCOM @gmail. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. You can call me, get a hold of Greg, or get a hold of CSRM, and you can get a hold of me in many different ways. I'm on Facebook, and I'd love to help you with your ideas and concepts. I love sitting with people going to visit churches and be like, helping them figure out what they can do. It's fun to do. It's fun for me because it's a challenge, but also give you the ideas to do something else. And when you can't afford the big basketball, you can't afford to do football, flag football, you don't have that big of a church. I love working with small churches. I come from a small church, so I get what it means to be little, but yet try to be big. So anytime you want to get a hold of me.
And I think that your email and the CSRM website will come up on the screen for you that are watching this. And if you're listening to it, again, give us your website or your email.
It's jambalcom, JAMBALCOM @gmail.com.
All right. And of course, you can go to csrm.org or you can Google Seed, and all of those will get you in these kind of directions. Jamie, we've just finished. You and I have been together the last 3 days. We've just finished with the CSRM board. This is our 25th year. We're celebrating our 25th year. And some people are saying, we've really got to do some celebration about this. And what took you so long, to figure out some of this stuff? But 25 years, and you've been part of it, and we really thank you for that. So, thanks for joining us here at this podcast, sponsored by CSRM and also our friends at Seed. And this is our time, but Bob Schindler will also be doing some of the future, as he has in the past, some of these some of these podcasts for us. Jamie, thanks for taking the time with us.
No problem. It's
God-
been fun.
God
I
bless
love
you,
it.
man.
Love Greg and everything about CSRM. So I believe in the concept.
Thanks for joining us.